Hey everyone, welcome back to Dev Radio, where we bring you awesome conversations with cloud solution architects from across Microsoft and really into things in Azure. As always, we have Matt Calder with us, hanging out, helping ask good questions, and doing all of the listening while I click around on the producer interface. Today, we have Sachin K. He's been doing a lot of really cool stuff in Azure with serverless. And Sachin, I really want to give you a platform to talk about, functions, logic apps, and really let people know why they should be paying attention to this space. So welcome, Sachin. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be on here with you and Matt. So I'm a CSA and I'm in data and AI space, and I'm really here and I'm extremely thrilled to talk about serverless component. And let me begin with the first one is the Logic apps, Azure Logic apps. What I really find that is the most awesome component within the ecosystem because it connects with all your apps and services that a business relies on. And it has close to 200 or so connectors where the Logic apps literally can connect to all of these different sources and not just that, you can have the whole orchestration workflow built around it. So that's the main part of Logic App. It essentially makes you do the workflows and orchestration with absolutely no code, or at least almost close to no code.
Yeah, code if you want, like code optional, right?
Code extremely optional, yeah. And let you think about the hypothetical situation. I receive an email, but I'm receiving this alerts from an application, say there's critical or if there are any errors. I want some of those emails to be forwarded, or the content of that email to be sent out or stored somewhere on the blob for processing or anything of that, in a sense, log aggregation, so to say. So Logic App can really do that. It has a connector to Office 365 and can bind the information and then write it to the blob and trigger based also. So
So you were just talking about like blob connectors, Office 365 connectors, and earlier you mentioned there was 200 connectors. So is this all just Azure services and Microsoft services, or is it a bigger ecosystem than that?
It's much bigger ecosystem. So first of all, the connectors are categorized like standard ones. Then you have first-party apps, you have third-party apps, you have Dropbox, you have Twitter, you have Jira, which I will be talking about as one of the use case, and you have event-driven, which is one of the most powerful feature. And within that event-driven, you have the support for Event Grid, which is again part of the ecosystem. But again, there's a whole lot of other third-party apps which you can integrate with.
Oh, that's pretty great. And you say you was going to talk through a use case with Jira, right? I'm super
That's
interested.
Right. Yeah, so one of the use case that a customer had is to come up with a productivity report. In a sense, they thought that the visualization within LTC and Jira is not enough for them to get more customized queries that they want to do over the Jira tickets and tasks and severity levels. So Logic App connector for Jira really came really handy in a sense. You have a scheduled trigger that would trigger a Logic App, and a Logic App would integrate with Jira. It has a JQL feature that you can put as an input, and within the JQL, you can specify all Jira specific queries within the JQL, and in response, you can get all the data, the information that's there within the Jira. Of course, you have to have the credentials and everything set up, but that's as a side part. We would not go deeper into how do you set that up, but all that has been done part of the connector, and with that you can have the tickets, how many tickets were created, how many what is the elapsed time, for example, what was the predicted time, and how much they really spend time on. So that type of values can be extracted out from Jira API via the Jira connector from LogicApp. And with that, those all information, LogicApp, again, then feeds back to Power BI for visualization. So that's a very fantastic use case of how LogicApp integrates with a third-party platform like Jira and use Power BI for visualization to show the productivity reports.
I mean, that is amazing. You use a first-party product for visualizations, a third-party product. I mean, that's our day-to-day world. But I also have customers who roll out third-party products that may not be as popular, or maybe they build their own in-house custom solutions. In the scenario where we're trying to integrate with something that may not have a built-in connector, is there a story with Logic Apps? Maybe another Azure service?
Yeah, so depending upon what the customer is planning to do, LogicApp can always use a way to connect to that particular application. Say I built some sort of a custom app and probably it's running an HTTP on it. Most likely these days we all built an API. So LogicApp has a request response connectors by which it can actually bind with any third-party apps or any of those APIs. And you can literally have the whole conversation going on between LogicApp and any custom apps that you would build. And in the response, you have the HTTP 200, assuming it's a successful response. And then within the body, you have the whole you can parse the entire body of the HTTP object. And with that object, here's the interesting part. With that, I can split the LogicApp's conditional statements. So there's no code here again. It has a very beautiful if-then predicate sort of matching within LogicApp by which I can search for certain terms within the HTTP body response. And based over that, I can either make a call or save that information somewhere or email it to someone. Again, we can use Office 365 for email purpose. So just a bunch of things that can be done with Logic Apps.
I mean, that's amazing. And I want to share one of my personal experiences. I was using that request response connector like you were talking about, and it has a feature where if you can give it a JSON schema of what to expect from the response, it will actually create properties that you can see right there in the editor. Again, no code, but when I go to the next step in the workflow, it says, "Oh, I expect these 3 properties because of the schema you gave me." So you're right. It's an experience that doesn't require code, but gives you all of the conveniences as if you wrote code, all of the best practices, and all the cool stuff that would come with normally developing the application from scratch.
Absolutely. No, like you said, the property management part of Logic Apps is great, like phenomenal, especially when you are trying to invoke a Logic app. Sorry, when you are trying to invoke Azure Data Factory, like say you have a pipeline, right? And the pipeline expects some parameters to start off with. Like, say, for example, there is, some integer value that you need to pass and send it to the ADF. So that's where Logic App has this parameter handling where you can pass in the JSON parameter, like in the JSON body, and send it to the ADF. And, based on that, it can, trigger the pipeline. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So, all right, let's say I'm watching this series and you just got me really excited about Logic Apps. I want to get started. Like if you had a customer who said, "Hey, I just want to try Logic Apps for the first time," where would you point them?
Yeah, so there are actually pre-built templates, close to 20 or 30 of them, which are already there. So some of the most common scenarios within the Azure portal on the dashboard, as soon as you go on the dashboard and you create a Logic app pipeline, there's literally nothing. You don't have to provision any server or any of that. So that's the best part, is all you need is the basic subscription and the region, and maybe a couple of like names and stuff. So, but there is absolutely it's completely serverless PaaS offering, and you don't have to do any resource allocation or any of that sort. So that's really fantastic about Logic App. And as soon as the user does that, a user maybe he can start off with a blank project, or he has a slew of 20 or 30 pre-built, fully blown workflows available to handle some of the most common scenarios, such as emailing, Twitter feeding, sentiment analysis, and all those things. So,
I mean, yeah, if there's templates that can get us going with like the majority of most common scenarios, and then we can just build on those templates. So again, Sachin, thank you so much for coming on. You shared a lot of really good information. We'll have links for more about Logic Apps in the description box. To everyone else, we'll continue to have CSAs on. Definitely subscribe to our channel if you want to see some more conversations. Sachin, thank you so much for coming on. I hope to get you on again. You love serverless, so that means I got to get you on to talk about Azure Functions.
Absolutely, yes. In my next episode, I think I will do that on the serverless and functions. Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely, Matt. You heard that. We're gonna talk about Azure Functions soon. So everybody, keep an eye out for that. I'm really looking forward to it. I love functions. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you all next time.
Thank you, Sydney, and thanks, Matt. Take care.